Hello, you extraordinary human beings. How are you doing today? Today is Friday, the 5th of April, and we are going to do a WIP N Chat. So I'm going to give you an update on my friend Lisa, and then I'm not going to talk about it anymore. So this will be the final installment on the saga. So a week ago Friday, I went round and round with the doctor and finally convinced him that he needed to send her to a tertiary hospital because what he was doing wasn't working. And I also found out that they gave her a feeding tube when they were specifically told not to do that. And they said that, oh yeah, she was lucid for a few days once we got some of the fluid off, and she gave us permission to put it in. I doubt it, because I know that she was adamantly opposed to it. So if she did, then she was out of her mind and therefore shouldn't have been given the opportunity to give permission. But anyway, so but they put it in and it failed almost immediately. In process of failing, it caused a fistula in her abdomen and she was bleeding internally. So then they had to call me to get permission to surgically close the hole that was causing the internal bleeding. And I wasn't pleased, and they knew it. I grilled them about who gave permission. Why did you do it when she clearly didn't want it? You know, we went round and round. Anyway, I, of course, gave them permission to surgically close the fistula because what was the alternative? There really wasn't one. So I naturally gave them permission to do that. They went in twice. The gastric surgeon had to go in twice, and it wouldn't stay closed. So I called her doctor and I said, listen, you need to get her to a tertiary hospital. I don't care if you send her back to Keck. I don't care if you send her to UCLA. I don't care, but you're going to get her out of here, period. He goes, well, you know, I'm concerned because there might not be anything they can do. And I said, yeah, well, if you don't try, we'll never know, and we might wish we had. So he hesitated for a minute and he goes, yeah, that's true. He goes, okay, I'll put in the paperwork and I'll process the transfer right now. He said, but I don't know what her insurance will say. And I said, you leave the insurance to me. You just get her there. So they did send her. It was the craziest thing. Instead of actually doing a transfer, they drove her by ambulance and went through the emergency room, I guess figuring because she wasn't stable, they would have to take her, because that's, you know, typical. If nothing else, a hospital has to take you. I mean, even if you're uninsured, they're supposed to stabilize you and then figure out where you should actually be for your care. So they sent her over there Friday. Of course, the doctor in the intensive care unit immediately took her in and admitted her. And they called me they transferred her around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I get a call from this doctor, a very nice lady doctor, at like 10:30 at night. And so, as I had been told by the hospital that was transferring her to give them 2 to 3 hours before calling to check on her, because they're going to want to evaluate her and all this other stuff, get her stabilized, you know, put her on whatever she needed to be on. So it was going to be a minute before they would be able to talk to me anyway, and they wouldn't know anything for a couple of hours. I said, fine. And then I got involved with some stuff, and so it was taking me longer than expected. So actually, I had decided I would call them the following morning, but then the doctor that admitted her called me anyway. Now, Usually when a hospital calls to talk to you at 10:30 at night, it's not great news. If it were great news, it could wait till morning, right? Okay, well, I'm not stupid. I knew that. So she calls, she introduces herself. I said, hi. She's like, are you this person? I said, yes. She said, so I want your permission to put her on a DNR order. I said, for God's sake, she's been there, what, 6 hours and you're already just ready? Like, what is that about? She goes, no. I'm still going to do whatever I can to help her and to try to save her. But she's like, I don't want to put this poor person through any kind of chest compression. And I said, doctor, maybe you need to tell me what exactly you found, because that might help me understand better. And I said, and please don't dumb it down, because I hate it when doctors do that. I said, just say it. If I don't understand something or I need clarification, I will stop you and ask you to repeat it. And she's like, yeah, that's fine. I said, okay. So basically, and I was so livid, you guys. I was so livid because nobody at the hospital where she's been for 3 months, tied up to a bed with restraints and on a ventilator, nobody said anything about this stuff. I don't know if they didn't know or were afraid to admit it or what. I suspect they didn't know, which is a problem because it's their job to know. They clearly didn't. As it turns out, she wasn't responding to anything except tactile stimulus, and not much of that. Usually only the painful type. So if they poked her with one of the needles or they pinched her or something like that, she grimaced. So obviously her pain sensors were still working, but she wasn't conscious. Like, she couldn't have a conversation or talk to them or anything. But she said, here's what's going on. So she arrived in septic shock. She is also in hemorrhagic shock. The only side of her lungs that was working is so thickly impacted with pneumonia, I will have to add fluid before I can try to suction it, because what's in there now is so thick. She said, picture a sponge soaking up glue. I can't even suction it out. So that's happening. And she said that she asked the surgical team, she found out, okay, here's the reason the fistula repair wasn't working. They found out that she had 2 very large abscesses in her abdomen that were full of sepsis, and 1 in her pelvis, also very large, also full of sepsis. So they wanted the surgical team to take the abscesses out so they could try to get a hold of the infection, and see, what else, if anything, they could do. The surgical team said, nope, she's not stable enough. If we take her into surgery, she'll die on the table. So yeah, that's a no. So they refused to take her in. So the doctor said, that's one of the reasons I'm calling is, she said, I need to get your consent. I want to send her down to the CT scanner where they will, by CT guidance, put in a catheter in all of the abscesses, all 3 of them, and we will drain them that way, and then I will send the fluid I get out of it to the lab so we know exactly what we're dealing with, so we can target the antibiotics and use the strongest available one we have because she's that ill. I said, yes, you have my permission. She said, I'm also going to do a bronchoscopy through the trachea to see if there's anything growing down there that we need to, also address. But she said, I want you to understand. And then the other thing that she said was, because she wasn't coherent and she didn't really fully know why, she said that she didn't see an anatomical reason why she shouldn't be conscious, other than, how incredibly ill she is. She said, if her heart should stop, I would like to have a DNR order because I don't want to put a lung that's that full of pus and bacteria and pneumonia through chest compressions. So that killed me, and I said, okay, doctor, you have your DNR order. And I said, but I want you to save her. That should be the goal. She said, oh, it is. I mean, that's why we're here. And she said, I'm really glad that she got here. I'm really glad the doctor sent her. I said, yeah, well, if I told you how many months I've been fighting with him about sending her here, you probably wouldn't be as impressed. And she said, oh, he wouldn't send her before? I said, no, he didn't want to send her now. Except that I basically didn't leave him much of an option. But I said, I've been trying to get her here for more than a month. She said, well, it would have been better if we could have gotten her here a month ago. I said, tell me about it. If I had had any way to do that, I would have done it. I said, today was an act of desperation because she was bleeding internally and they couldn't get it stopped. And she said, we've clamped it and we will be, doing something more permanent while we're in the CT scanner doing the catheter insertion. We will also have a surgical team in there to go ahead and try to close that more permanently so that, we can stop the bleeding. So right now we're just using a clamp, but we will do something more permanent down there. And I said, are you going to be able to? And she said, well, I hope so. We're certainly going to try. I mean, that's the goal. I mean, clearly we can't have that bleeding, so we're going to do what we can, and it might mean we have to be creative, but that's what we're going to do. I said, okay, doctor, well, thank you. She said, I'll call you with updates when the tests are in. Okay. So, had a very sleepless night that night. The next morning, the doctor on the day shift called me. Do not like her in any capacity. But she called to let me know that she, in addition to all this other stuff, well, first of all, she wasn't responding to the antibiotics any longer for the pneumonia. They were not getting a handle on the sepsis despite running the antibiotics, strongest one available, 24/7. They had her on a permanent type, it's called a CRRT, a permanent dialysis unit, so that they could monitor and alter how much of that fluid was leaving if they needed to. And she said that she still wasn't conscious. I knew that. She hasn't been conscious much in the last several months. And that she didn't think that if she were to recover, that she would ever eat or breathe on her own again. So there was that. So I said, okay, doctor, well, I think that you made it pretty clear where you stand, which frankly I don't think is appropriate, but okay, that's been done. So what is the goal then? And I said, she only needs a sliver of a chance. I mean, that's all she's ever had since the day she was born. She said, oh, I can promise you that she's never been this sick. I said, don't be so sure of yourself, doctor. She has been at the brink of death more than 3 or 4 times the last 10 months. So what I know about Lisa is that she's been a survivor for a very long time. And so what are you planning to do to help her? She said, well, we are going to, since we can't find any reason why she's not awake or coherent, we are going to do a CT scan of her head, with your permission, of course. And I said, permission is granted. And then we will ask, all of our colleagues to come in and evaluate in their specialties and see what else they think can or should be done. Okay. She said, I have to tell you, we have replaced half of her blood volume twice since she's been here in less than 24 hours. And she has had her blood pressure drop out twice. So if it hasn't been for the medication keeping her blood pressure up and for the ventilator, which we now have on the highest setting, she would not be here now. I said, well, then it's a good thing you've done all of that, doctor, so thanks for that. And she said, I will let you know, when the tests come back. I said, fine. Meanwhile, I get a call again from said hospital. The social worker wants to introduce herself. Says her name is Megan, and she is there if we need anything. I said, Megan, what I need right now is for somebody to locate her phone, because we don't have any idea of her contact information for anyone in her life, because it's all in that phone. And as it is, we're going to have to try to figure out what the code is to get it to open, because none of us know. But I said, so if you could make sure that her phone is in her room and it stays there, that would be half the battle. So she said that she would do that. And that, if we needed anything to let her know, and this, that, and the next. Fine, okay, great. So the next day, which was Sunday, I called to check on her, and they said, she hasn't really changed much. I said, did the CT scan get done? They said, yes, we're waiting for the results to come back. Should be any time. And then the doctor will call you. I said, okay, thank you. About 4 hours later, I get another phone call from the hospital. It's the doctor and the social worker together, wanting me to know that she has had another brain bleed, also known as a stroke. She had one back in August, didn't have any repercussions from it, but this one was larger and scarier, and she said, yeah, this makes the likelihood of any viable recovery almost nil. And I said, doctor, I appreciate the information, but I said, you were ready to write her off when she got there, and frankly, I don't like that attitude, so from now on, I would like a different member of the team to call me, period. She said, and the social worker popped in, she goes, okay, Wendy, that's fine, I'll make sure that's the case. I said, thank you. And so I said, what is the plan at this point? I said, are you going to have neurology come in and assess her, or what? And she said, yes, I've actually already called them. We're just waiting for them to come up. We're going to see if they have any insight that they can offer. She said, I think it's important for you to understand that she's incredibly ill. I said, I know that, doctor. I'm the one that got her to you. I'm more aware of it than the doctor at the other hospital. So, yeah, I get it. But I said, I expect you to do everything and anything that you can to save her, because medical mismanagement got her into this situation. So medical management is going to have to sustain her till we figure out what, if anything, can be done. I said, is there any question about any of that? I said, you've got your DNR order, but I said, I don't expect you to use it. That's only in place if her heart stops naturally, no other reason. She's like, okay, that's fine, I understand. And she said, is it okay to use electric shock if her heart stops? I said, yeah, I mean, as long as you're not crushing her chest with chest compressions, I guess that's okay. She said, okay. So she said, I'll let you know after I hear from neurology, but it might be tomorrow, especially if they request any types of tests to be done. I said, okay, that's fine. So, you know, I wanted to say, you know, you ruined our Easter, so really, let's go right ahead. Just keep going. So, I didn't hear from anyone the rest of that day. Then, the next day, I get a different doctor who tells me that neurology has evaluated her. They would like to have an EEG and another scan of her head done. And they said, you know, of course we would need permission, but she's like, we're not sure that's, you know, a great idea. I said, well, I think it's a great idea, because especially the EEG, because I said, if at any time you're going to ask me to make a horrendous decision, I'm going to ask you what level of brain activity she has. So you're going to need to know that. So, yeah, so you have my permission, so go ahead and get the test run. I really think they wanted me to tell them never mind, but I wasn't going to do that. So, they said okay. So, the test results were still pending for that today. So, but she got slightly worse overnight, and so they want to start talking about removing medical support from her. And I said, okay, let me make this perfectly clear. You will do nothing of the sort from now until Monday at the very least, because I want to make sure that anyone who wants a chance to say goodbye to her has an opportunity to do that, including and especially her stepson, who she loved with all her heart and who loves her just as much. So, yeah, you need to keep it going. I said there are a couple of friends of ours from high school that stayed in her life, so I'm going to try to find a phone number for them and let them know. One is in California, sort of local-ish, she's in the Bay Area, but she's in the state, and the other one's in Nevada. So, but I want to give them an opportunity, because as you know, there's no do-overs here. So her stepson is trying to get time off work and a ticket to LAX now, actually, as we speak. And so I put him on the list of okay to visit. And that's, you know, what we've done. We put in a password system so that anyone that doesn't have the password doesn't get past security downstairs. So there will be no more her brother breaking in and doing something stupid. So basically, guys, what all of that means in a nutshell is that sometime next week I have to give permission from my best friend of 43 years to remove her life support. So, yeah, it has sucked real bad this week. Real bad. And I let the social worker know that when the time comes, and I will let you know when that is, not vice versa. Tell the doctor I said that she has permission at that time, not now, at that time, to stop the medication that's keeping her heart rate up and her blood pressure up. And she can stop that medication, and we will allow her heart to stop. And then we will shut off the ventilator. You will not allow her to suffocate her way out of this life, period. That may be the last thing I can do for her, and that's fine, but that's the way it's going to go. And she's like, okay, I will let the doctor know. She knows how to reach you if she has questions. I said, well, I'm sure she does. She said, okay. She said, I would say have a good weekend, but under the circumstances, I said, yeah, please don't bother, because really. So that's what's going on, guys. So it pretty well sucked. It really, really did. So what have I learned through this experience? I've learned that you can die just from having Medicaid. That's one thing I learned. Another thing I learned is our medical care in this country is abysmal. And why we tolerate it for twice the amount of premiums, I don't know. But it is really bad. And the last thing I learned was stay out of the hospital at all costs. Just plain don't go. So that's what I learned. So anyway, so again, you guys know what's going on now and what's coming, so I'm not going to do any more updates on it, and I won't be speaking about it again. At least not, not on the internet. I mean, that's not what this channel is for. But I do want to thank all of you who have sent all the prayers and the good thoughts and all the love. It made a difference to both of us. And yeah, we really can't thank you enough for that. And that's what happened. So, all right, moving on to another subject. How is everybody doing on their current canvases? Anybody have April events that they're doing? This canvas that I'm working on, this one happens to be for Diamonds by Tita's Blissful in Blue event. Finally was an opportunity to do this blue dragon that I unboxed a while ago, and it's been really fun. I'm enjoying it. And what else? I'm also doing DP along with friends, of course. I'm doing Eileen's event, Wings and Things. I'm doing the Lightweaver canvas along with Donna at Diamond Art Joy. We're both doing that same canvas. I know she's further along on it than I am, but as you guys know, I've been dealing with some stuff, so I have not had the opportunity to diamond paint that I'd like to have had. So, I'll get there when I get there. And I'm also still working on that big colorful dragon canvas that I replaced with some of the drills with ABs. And oh, am I loving that, you guys. It's been really fun. I cannot wait until it's finished so I can show you guys. It's been really, really fun. So that's happening. So tell me in the comments, what are you guys working on? Are you doing events? Are you playing catch up on some of your canvases? What are you doing? Are you getting more canvases so that you can do some events, or what? Tell me what's the haps? Anybody have weekend plans? You gonna just watch the grass grow, or what's on the agenda? What's going on? It's gonna be quiet around here. I'm planning to diamond paint and let my mind empty. That's what I'm planning to do. Spend some time, probably watching TV with my son and catching up on some programs. Yeah, because it's been a week and I'm tired of this week. So that's where we are on that front. What else is going on? My Coup Deals order, which has taken an age to get here. Not as long as the one I just showed you a while back that really took forever. But it should be here. It's in the States. So it's just a matter of, getting through customs and getting to the USPS area, that kind of stuff. So I should have that for you for next week. along with the swatches canvas I just ordered today from Raven Diamond Art. So that'll be fun. What else? Any of you guys buy a canvas lately? If so, where'd you get it from? Which one did you get? Inquiring minds want to know. I hope that everybody, sorry guys, that was my dryer. Hopefully everybody is in diamond painting bliss. At least I hope so. That's the nice thing about weekends is I can usually, now I say usually because, you know, sometimes things come up, but usually it's an opportunity for me to really get some diamond painting going. And I'm so glad because I look forward to that. You know, I have to catch it when I can during the week because there is too much to do and not enough time to do it all. So that makes it a little tough to diamond paint. But on weekends, I try to drill out some time to just sit and lose myself in a good diamond painting. I haven't made any cards since Valentine's Day. That's a problem. I need to get some paper crafting done, but you know what? I'm sure you can understand why I haven't really felt like doing much of that as of late. So I'll just stick to diamond painting until I feel like it. It's not like it's going anywhere. It's all snuggled up into my craft room and it will be there when I'm darn good and ready for it. So how was everyone's Easter? Everybody have a good Easter? Anything interesting happen? Yeah, what's happening in life? My new little granddaughter, little Miss Layla, is 2 weeks old, and oh, she is so cute. Cute as a bug in a rug, I'll tell you. Her little eyes are open a lot more now, and oh, is she adorable. She has been so much fun. I finally was able to get the gift on their registry that they wanted. It's a baby carrier, the kind you wear. Don't ask me why it's $100, but it was $100, so I had to wait till payday. But I did get it, and it has been delivered to their house, and they are delighted, and they put her in it, and she's delighted, so I'm delighted. That worked out fine. She is really, really cute. And my new little dragon baby, little Miss Clara, is cute as a bug in a rug. She's just, she is kind of amazing. She's extremely cute. She's really funny. She's hilarious to watch. And that little girl is eating like a horse. Oh my God. I can't believe how much, I always forget how much juveniles can put away. You know, they eat, you have to feed them 2 to 3 times a day because their metabolisms are really, really fast because the growth rate is incredible. I mean, they go from hatchling to adult in a year. So, which is also why it's imperative that if you have a young reptile that you give them the supplements that they need, because if they don't have enough calcium and protein and phosphorus and all of the other elements that they need, you can give them illnesses and diseases that they will have for a lifetime. So I'm frustrated always that pet stores that are allowed to sell reptiles for purchase are under no obligation to explain this to people. And that absolutely infuriates me. So it's one of the reasons why so many little dragons have metabolic bone disease, where their bones and their joints do not develop normally. So oftentimes they lose the ability to use their back legs, their jaws rubbery, they don't, have any level of normalcy, and they will be a special needs animal for the rest of their life because the people that thought, oh, what a cute lizard, didn't bother to do the research because it's 100% preventable. But you'd be amazed how many thousands of reptiles a year end up with that and how negatively impacted their lives are because of it. I mean, fortunately, they are able to survive most of the time because, you know, they're domesticated. So it's not like they're out in the outback of Australia having a fight for insects and you know, places to sleep and places to get away from predators and that kind of thing. But it still means the difference between a dragon that can do normal, typical dragon things and lead a normal little dragon life, and one that can't. So, I always keep close eyes on her. She is definitely catching up. She's becoming quite the big girl. The nice thing is, you guys, I have not seen anywhere near the same amount of seizures that she was having. So, one, I'm really excited about that. And two, I'm hoping that either she is, with proper nutrition, is recovering from head trauma when she got stuck in the egg. And so, you know, with the right diet and supplementation, that she's either building new synapses or going to be able to work around them, the damaged ones, and maybe she won't have to have seizures for the rest of her life. She also is doing a lot less tremor when she runs. I mean, sometimes it's a textbook run. She doesn't even look like she struggled at all. So that's kind of wonderful news too, and I'm really excited to see if it continues. I would love it if she was able to really fully recover. That would be amazing. And it may well be too much to ask for, but this is what I was hoping I could do, is because she's only 6 months old and she's still a juvenile, that I could have a bigger impact on her, the rest of her development, and maybe get her to a point where, you know, she's quasi-normal, where you wouldn't even notice that she had issues unless you really looked close. I mean, if I could just accomplish that, that would make me very happy. But we will love her either way. So that doesn't matter to me, whether she recovers or not. I'm just hoping for her sake that she's able to, because I think that would be wonderful. And I hope you guys don't have to listen to my husband. He's taking a nap, so he's snoring in the other room. So if you hear him, sorry. But it was really wonderful to see. And at first, it took me a minute to realize, and I went, I was sitting there the other day, I was giving her a drink of water and some more food. And I kind of looked at her and I was like, oh my gosh, Clara, you haven't had the shakes in a while, and look at you, no seizures. Wow. So that was just fantastic to realize. And it was so cute because she knows her name already. Like if I say her name, she looks at me. Or if I'm near the front of her tank and I say her name, she comes running, which is the cutest thing on the planet. And she's very, very smart because she hasn't been here that long, you guys. It'll only be a week on Sunday. So she literally, on Saturday, tomorrow. So, you know, it's not, and she was called something else in her original home. So, yeah, that just shows that she's brilliant. Yes, she is. And she's a very good girl. She's eating just literally everything in sight, including vegetables, which is kind of wonderful because that's usually where you tend to struggle, because you have to feed the babies their protein 2 to 3 times a day. Most of the time they don't even get interested in vegetables till they're around 6 or 7 months. And then you have until they're a year old to start phasing out some of the protein so that their diet is 80-20 vegetation and the 20% protein. Whereas when they're hatchlings and juveniles, it's 80% protein and 20% vegetables. So you have to kind of transition it throughout their first year. Now, I generally start out with the 80% protein, 20% vegetation, just so they recognize it when they're hatchlings or juveniles, when they're early on. And then when they get to about the 6-month mark where she is, I give them a 50-50 diet, so that by the time they're at that 9 to 10 month age, I start transitioning to more greens. So we're getting closer to the 80% greens and the 20% protein. So by the time they're a year old, they've transitioned and it's gone fairly smoothly. And I've used that many times, and it seems to work well, and I don't really have a lot of problems. The dragons are healthy and happy, and it's not a struggle. But the biggest struggle is when you try to limit some of their protein and replace it with greens, because they're like, seriously, this is not what I want to eat. I want to eat bugs. I understand, but your dietary needs are changing, so you have to do what you need to have done. But usually that's the hard part, is getting them, first of all, to acknowledge that greens are a food source, which sometimes they will try to not do, thinking, well, if I don't eat this, I'm going to get the other. And sometimes that works with people. And boy, do they try it. But it is such a bonus that she already likes greens. So that's fantastic, because all I have to do now is continue to give them to her. And any time that I want her to eat more of them, all I have to do is just back off some of the worms. So, maybe today she's going to get 12 worms, and then in a couple weeks she'll only get 10 worms, and she'll get extra greens, so that the transition won't be hard for her, which is good. And actually, I'm not even going to do any of that until I take her to the vet for the first time, because I want to make sure that number one, that I'm not seeing things. I wanted her to see if she sees her having any seizures. And then if not, I want to know what her thoughts are on it. And, does this sound like a good thing to do? Should I, because she struggled initially, should I let her stay on, the protein source a little bit longer than normal? Like, what's the plan? So that's going to be my goal when I get her into the vet, which, hopefully will be either by the end of this month or end of next month, as long as she stays healthy. So yeah. So Miss Ruby, on the other hand, not a single egg. I'm like, girl, you need to get in that dig box and load that sucker up, because you are about as round as you can get without bursting. So get in there and get rid of them. So, and I will say she's been in and out of it, but she likes to get in there and kick the dirt out. I mean, that's her goal. That's what she likes to do the most. And I'm like, this is not spa day. That's there for a purpose. Now get in there and lay those eggs. She just looks at me like, when I feel like it. And I know she's not really ready, because she's still eating. Usually when they get ready to lay eggs, they'll stop eating for a couple, 3 days. Then they'll lay everything they have inside. And then they'll be ravenous and they'll eat everything for a couple days. So I know that that's what she does. So while she's still eating, I know that she's not in any hurry. But I would like her to get rid of them, because I worry about her for the same reason that I lost Smolder. I worry about Ruby every time she ends up gravid. Every lay season, I just go, oh, really? Come on. So that's the trial and tribulation of having, female reptiles. I wish they would hurry up and find out what kind of dosage is appropriate to suppress ovulation in reptiles, so that we can stop losing them to reproductive mishaps, because that just stinks. Because it happens fast. There's not much you can do about it. It's always a surgical fix, and even that is only about 50 to 60% effective, and that's if everything goes well in surgery, and by that point that they need the surgery, things probably aren't going to go well. So, and that's of course assuming they survive the anesthesia, because all animals that have fast metabolisms don't do fantastic with anesthesia, because it wears off so quickly. So then they have to make sure they use enough, and then that's usually a little too much. Same thing happens with birds, same thing with rodents, from mice to rabbits. It's the same thing. So it all carries risk, but you can't just tell nature to shut it off. Like, you have to either actively do something about it, or you have to surgically spay them so that none of you have to go through it again. So And that's all well and good, but it's expensive. And I hesitate with Ruby because she, was slow to get through puberty because she had such bad malnutrition initially when she was still a child's pet. And so I don't want to do anything that is not in her best interest. So now that's not to say that I wouldn't consider it. It would be nice not to have to be terrified that something's going to happen to her every year. And now that she's had a couple of cycles, I feel better about it. But and I did tell the doctor, because she did have the mishap last year where one broke inside her, and that was scary because that could have caused peritonitis, and that could have been fatal too. So, the doctor said, Wendy, if this happens again, I really think it would be the best thing to do, and the best, most effective course of action would be to just go ahead and spay her. And I said, okay, if you think that's what's best for her, I'm okay with that. I mean, I always spay and neuter my dogs, so it's not that I'm against that. I'm not. I'm for it, because I think the animals live longer, they're healthier, they have less trauma, and it's just an all-around better thing to do. But I'm always cognizant of what the beginnings are like for these dragons when I take them into the rescue. I mean, some of them have suffered for a very long time. Some of them have been in pain for years. Some of them have been sick for months. So I don't like to think about doing anything surgically that isn't absolutely necessary. But if it will save her life, then I'm fine with that. So in fact, when I take Clara into the vet, I want to take Ruby. If she hasn't laid the eggs by then, I'm definitely taking her in and going, what is happening? And see, first of all, because she can take an x-ray and find out if there's any follicles forming inside her body. And she can even count them. So if she sees them, then she'll come back and tell me, hey, I count 14, but there might be 15. Whoops, sorry guys. Or something like that, or she could come back and say, yeah, I don't see any in there. In which case I'm going to say, then why is she so bloated? And why didn't she do any this year when she did so many last year? Like, is that normal? Because I don't think it is. Usually once they start laying, they lay every year in some level of regularity. It fluctuates a little bit, but it's something that they continue to do. So, I want to know, why didn't she? So I will ask her about that. And I also want her to take a look at Finian's femoral pores, because he's not really cleaning them like normal, because he can't really feel his back legs typically all the time. And so I just want to make sure they're not getting impacted. And if so, I want her to clean them out and show me the appropriate way to do it, because that's not something I want to learn on the internet. Because when you do a dragon's femoral pores, if you don't do it right, or you nick them somewhere where they shouldn't have been nicked, you can cause infection that can kill them. And I will do that to Finian over my dead body. So I'm going to take him and have the vet show me specifically, what does it look like to do this? How, what am I looking for? How do I know if I'm cleaning them and it's too deep? Like, what do I do? What is not normal discharge? Like, if I see what do I need to bring him in? Like, what, tell me the whole thing from stem to stern, so that I can be more confident in caring for him in that manner. So, yeah, so 3 out of 4 are going to need to go in there. So that's one of the reasons why I'm waiting for my tax return, because that's going to be spendy. So, but, you can't just not provide care. So, and I have to ask the doctor if she'll give me a group rate for bringing 3 of them in at once. And I can't ask her staff that, because they will say no. I have to ask her, because they will do whatever she says. So that's my goal, is to get them in there and make sure everybody's healthy and happy and doing fine. So that's the plan. It should be any time. I mean, we just got our state taxes in the mail today, actually. So I'm hoping that that means that federal is following soon. And then I will feel much better when I can get them in there and have the doctor take a look and see how everybody's doing. So that's the goal anyway. But everybody seems fine. I mean, Ruby isn't suffering or struggling or straining. She just isn't interested. Like, she just doesn't feel the need to lay them. So I don't know what's happening with her. And then little Miss Clara, like I said, growing like a weed. That girl is getting so big. And Mr. Merlin, feisty as feisty can be, but a good boy, but boy is he feisty. So we're decorating his tank on a regular basis, and I have to keep putting stuff back, and he keeps pulling it away and shoving stuff one direction. I mean, it's a whole thing. And I'm like, it would be helpful if you could stop redecorating, Merlin. There's nothing wrong with how your tank is set up, buddy. Like, come on. I know it's spring, but spring cleaning is a figure of speech. You don't actually have to do it. Well, of course, he thinks, of course I have to do it. So, yeah, no, we'll see. But yes, and Finian's fine. He just doesn't understand why he just can't go outside and play like he normally does. And I'm like, Finian, I know it looks like the sun is out, but it's 55 degrees, baby. You just can't go out there, even with your sweater. It's just too cold. But I have taken him with me in the car a few extra times just to get him out and about. Especially since I can trust him. I don't have to worry that, he's going to poop all over everybody or me or the car or groceries. If I'm at the grocery, I don't have to worry about it. I know I can trust him. So he gets to go out on adventures more often. And I know that that's also why he misses it. But now that it's going to get warmer, I mean, we're supposed to be 80 degrees next Wednesday, which, boggles the mind. And I don't like heat, so not looking forward to that. But that makes it more comfortable for me to go ahead and take Finn wherever I want to, because the weather will be cooperative and he can be out and enjoying life. So, and that also helps a lot with his appetite. So anytime that he starts to go, I don't really want to eat, I know that if I take him outside for a few hours or take him with me when I go run errands, that he will eat beautifully when I get home. Sometimes that natural sunlight, you can't beat it. I mean, the best UVB bulb there is no match for natural sunlight. That's just the way it works out. So, I mean, they're outdoor creatures. That's just the reality of it. So that is why I think it's a good thing to get him out. And then he'll usually eat his greens just really nicely. And occasionally he'll slurp up a couple worms and it's all good. So that's that situation. But yeah, everybody's, acting and looking just fine. So it's not like I'm not urgently concerned about anybody, but, the ounce of prevention is really worth the pound of cure, especially in reptiles, because they're such good masked rider kind of guys. By the time they show you something is wrong, it's usually really wrong and it's been wrong for a while and they just didn't want you to know. So, so I'm going to go take them and just find out what I can find out, and hopefully she'll give everybody a clean bill of health, and then I can breathe a sigh of relief, and that'll be fine. And if not, if anything is not the way it should be, hopefully I'll be catching it early enough where we can do whatever intervention seems appropriate. So that's the goal. But I know anytime they put the word exotic in front of a pet, that means the translation is charge triple. That's what that means. Exotic triple. Yep. So I know that to take those 3 dragons in, it's going to be upwards of probably $400 to $500, which is almost my complete half of my share of my tax return. But, that's part of the deal. If you're going to have a rescue, you have to provide the care that they need. It's not just enough to just give food and love. Wouldn't it be nice if it was? But it's not. Just like it's not enough for children. You still have to go to the pediatrician. You have to go to the dentist. I mean, there are things you have to do. So, except that I can't make it rain money. I've tried, you guys. I've tried really hard, but it doesn't work. So I have to get it from other sources, like taxes. And I could put it on a credit card maybe, but I would really rather use my tax return and not put it on a card and pay interest on a fee. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do. Now, understand if anybody was suddenly ill, or if Ruby laid some eggs and looked like she was having trouble laying the rest, oh, absolutely, I would take her in right away. You know, payment be damned, but I would take her immediately. So, yeah, I don't compromise with their health, but I'd like to be able to take them on my terms, if at all possible, and not on some other terms. But, you know, again, that depends on how they do. So I'm going to get a weight on Miss Clara this weekend, so I'll let you guys know how monstrously big she's gotten, because I'm telling you, that girl is something else. And other than that, yeah, not a whole lot going on. I'm just trying to brace myself for next week, and trying to do some self-care and getting some extra rest over the weekend, because it's going to be a lot. And then not knowing any of this was going to happen, you know, we have the tickets to the comedy show in LA next week, and so I want to be able to, which means it's going to be a long week, and it's not going to be a restful weekend next weekend. And we have to park in a parking garage that's like a block and a half away, and I don't like that either. You know, being in my scooter, it's not too bad for me, but my husband walks with a cane, and I don't like having him kind of vulnerable out there. And of course, he doesn't see vulnerable because he thinks he's fine. Ugh, men. So I'm going to have to ride between him and the storefronts. So I don't like that he's nearest the curb, but he's safer there behind me than he is walking along and being targeted by somebody from inside one of the buildings should they try to come out. I might only be able to go 6.2 miles in my scooter, but that will be enough to run up somebody's face if I have to. So there you go. So, but yeah, that's a little bit anxiety provoking, because, you know, it's not the town we're from. We don't hang out in that part of the town. And, you know, yes, it's a theater district, but that doesn't mean that much in LA, because a lot of the theaters are in what used to be beautiful parts of town and are now the worst parts of town. And that just happened with time and evolution. It wasn't, you know, an intentional thing. It's just the way it ended up. So, you know, you have to take extra caution. So I'm also going to not take my purse. I'm going to take a small wallet with my phone in it that I can wear inside the waistband of my pants, so it's not sitting in my basket. So if anybody looks in there, they're not going to see anything. You know, you have to be prepared, people. It's not a safe place in this world anymore, if it ever was even. So that's my plan, is to keep everything that I'm going to be taking, which will be minimal, and tuck it on my body somewhere so that it's not laying around, and be vigilant so that if I have to protect my husband, then I can, until we can get to the theater, and then hopefully it'll be a great show. And I'm hoping that on the way back, since the show gets out, we will all be headed back at the same time. See, we're not all going to be heading there at the same time, but we will all be heading back at the same time. And that way there'll be some safety in numbers when we head back to the parking garage. So, yeah, that's the goal. Hopefully that vigilance will pay off and everybody will be fine, and, you know, we might not feel much like laughing come Saturday, depending on how next week goes, but, you know, it also couldn't hurt, because we might as well go. So we considered not going, but, you know, it's non-refundable tickets. It's part of our anniversary gift to each other. And in the long term, we figured, you know what, let's just go. So we are. It also gives us a chance to be out of the house for a while and have some real emotions if we want to, because we have to be careful, because my son's in the house and it really bothers him if I'm upset. Like, it really bothers him. So, which I appreciate, because he's a very nurturing, loving soul, and I love that. But that also means that some things are hard for him. And so I often have to muffle how I'm feeling until he goes to his bed and we go to our bed, and then I can kind of let it out. But, you know, that's not ideal. It's hard to do sometimes. So yeah, that's what's going to be happening. We have a little adult time, just the two of us. Go to the show, grab a quick dinner, and head home and let our poor respite person go home. Poor Ashley. And, you know, at least if nothing else, it's a change of scenery for a couple of hours, which I don't think is a bad thing at this point. So that's the plan, guys. Now, how long have I been talking your ear off? Oh, look at that. An hour, a minute, and a few seconds. So, all right, guys. A few things. First of all, I want to say thank you to my new subs. Thank you for subbing in. I really appreciate it, and I'm so happy to have you here. Welcome to the channel. And to my tried and true subs that always come in and leave me comments, you know, I love each of you. Thank you very much for continuing to do that. I'm so close to 500 subs, you guys. Like, I need like 20 more. Come on, guys, you can do it. And there will be a giveaway that I'm working on for the 500 mark. So, but I really want to thank you guys. And again, thank you so much for your prayers and your love and support for my friend. It's the worst possible outcome, but there's no changing it now. And so now the goal is to minimize her suffering and try and figure out how to live in this world without a good person in it. That's really what we're doing. So, but you know, you guys and your kind words make a huge difference. So I want you to know that. And I hope each and every one of you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, because you guys deserve only the best. I always tell my husband I have the best subs on the net. So there you go. So all of you deserve something fantastic. Get out there and get yourself something fantastic. If you've been waiting on a certain canvas, go get that canvas. Go on, go get it. You earned it. Have you been eyeing some of the Starbucks spring flavors that are coming out? Get you down there and get you a big old Starbucks. Get a venti size. You earned it. Go on. Yes. Looking to kit up a new and totally unnecessary canvas that you've been eyeing because you've had it in your stash and you really want to do it? Kit that sucker up. Do it. Won't hurt you. Nobody's going to be counting your WIPs. Just do it. So yes, that's all important. And really and truly, you guys, you know, like and subscribe. And if you know anybody that you think might enjoy the channel, please send it over to them and say, hey, sub in here. Let's see what's going on. Let's see what this is about. And I just want to tell you guys, I appreciate every single one of you. And I'm so glad that you're here. And you've made this whole journey of having a YouTube channel really fun, because I really thought about it for a long time, and I had just about talked myself out of it. And then I said, oh, you know what? Go ahead. And then I thought, okay, nobody's going to sub in. It's going to be awful. But you know what? You guys are fantastic, and you all just stepped right up to the plate. You really did. So thank you, everyone. Again, have a fantastic weekend. Treat yourself. As a special gift to me, go treat yourself to something fantastic, okay? If your significant other takes you out to dinner, surprise them, take them out. You pay, take them out. If you haven't taken your dogs out for a nice long walk in a dog park where they could meet and play with other dogs and they can handle that environment, mine cannot, but if yours can, take them out. Let them go make a new doggy friend. Go see a movie. Go do something fun. Take a class. Hey, sign up for some new Parks and Recreation stuff. Yep, get out there and be part of the world, because if the one thing that Lisa taught us, it's that, you know, tomorrow's not a guarantee, so make the most of today, okay? All right, everybody, and remember, at all times, always, always, always be a dragon. Spread your wings. Protect those you love. Have fiery passion. And, oh gosh, you guys, I just lost it. Did you know that? Oh my gosh, it just went right over my head. Oh, stay strong. Slay your fears. And always fly high, rise up, and soar. All right, my Dragonites, it's been wonderful to have you. And thanks for hanging out for a while and listening to me drone on. And have a fantastic couple of days, would ya? Love to everybody. Mwah. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.